Good afternoon, folks. I'm meteorologist Ross Mumma, joined by the one, the only, Chief Meteorologist Tim
I'm gonna have
Deegan,
to
yet
start
again
doing.
here.
I'm gonna have to start doing these intros.
You don't like mine?
Ross,
I try to add a little pizzazz
I
for you.
like your creativity. I just feel pressure once you start saying the one and only. I start looking around. That's all.
Hey, next, maybe either tomorrow or Friday, I'll say the man, the myth, the legend.
Start with a myth.
Well, today we're not really talking about the forecast, Tim. We're talking about Severe Weather Awareness Week. I know you and meteorologist Lee Southwick had a whole discussion on marine safety and rip currents yesterday. Well, today is all about thunderstorms and tornadoes and how to not only be aware of severe weather, but I really consider this almost a preparedness day as well, making sure to not only be aware, but also be prepared and to know what to do when severe weather does strike.
Yeah, right. Right now, I love the fact you say prepare. Some folks may be saying, why now? Because most of our thunderstorms, right, are pretty much May through August and September. But as far as northeast Florida and southeastern Georgia, the highest risk of maybe getting an EF2 or EF3, which are the stronger tornadoes, is actually this time of the year. Where it's still deep enough in winter to where the jet stream comes this far enough south for the energy, but now we start to get that warmer air and the ingredients can be together. But to be clear, we don't see the ingredients for that at least through Monday, would you say?
Yeah, at least through Monday.
At least.
Yeah. But no, you're right. I mean, we do typically see our strongest storms or highest threat of a higher rated tornado in the months of, I guess maybe late February and then March and April, whereas the frequency is perhaps higher through June, July, and August, but the severity maybe not so much. But we have the chance for severe weather nearly year-round here in Florida. I like to consider it almost the same as in Oklahoma. That's what we used to say out there. So let
me just underline what you're saying because just about any thunderstorm can cause some type of damage, if for no other reason than lightning, right?
Yes.
So although today is really hyper-focused on tornadoes, lightning is, as you know, if even when we have severe weather warnings or tornado warnings, the most frequent report of damage, at least to homes, tends to be from lightning. Yeah, that risk is there.
Well, let's go through some of the places that, either within your home or your house or wherever you happen to live, which are some good places to, hunker down and hide during a severe weather event. And as Tim kind of stressed, this is primarily for tornadoes, but in thunderstorms and particularly severe thunderstorms, those warnings come out. They're warned for upwards of, 55 to 60 mile per hour winds, if not even higher than that, which could still cause some damage to your home. Your back deck and porch could, the fence could get ripped off, glass can break, any projectile can also be thrown through windows and things like that. So just a good chance to stress severe thunderstorm warnings should be taken as seriously as tornado warnings. But back to exactly, where should your safe spot be? You want to put as many walls between you and the outside as you can. So typically that means an interior stairwell, a hallway, an interior closet. Bathrooms are good. Now this one here does have an exterior wall, so probably wouldn't be the first place you'd want to go. But you want to try to get as low and as close to the center of your house, Tim, as you can during these severe weather events.
Right. I can't help but think even about during potentially hurricanes as well. As Ross said, you're basically trying to keep yourself away from debris in the safest part of the house. Ross, I'm thinking about the little Timmy Deegans out there because I know that when it was stormy, where's the first place I'd go? I would rush.
You're looking
to the window.
outside.
Exactly. And let's face it, unless it is the eye wall of a hurricane or a very rare EF3 or 4 tornado, that most severe weather events around here, it is the debris that goes through the windows or goes through the roof that causes not only the damage, but then causes injuries to people.
Yeah.
So that's why we're really hyper, try to keep people away from the windows, try to keep people away from the outside walls. And I guess another point I'm trying to make here is, let's say this is a 2-story house, try to get people to get downstairs.
Yeah. And debris can mean anything. It could mean, what you probably think of when you first say debris, which is something broken off of another house or your own house, perhaps even, a broken 2x4 that is sharp. That's probably what you think of. But debris could really be a lawn chair that you have out on your back patio, a trash can, anything really that is loose and is not tied down can quickly become a projectile in these situations. So that's why, yes, you want to stress getting away from the windows. And like I said, especially in a tornadic event. When's the last time you had an EF3 or higher here, Tim? Do you know?
I think it's been 3 years, maybe 4.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we probably average an EF3 maybe about once every 3 to 4 years.
Because in my head, typically, I often think once you get to a kind of a high-end EF2 and an EF3, that's when you're talking about substantial damage to your home, not just some tiles ripped off.
Right.
I feel like EF0 and EF1s, you do have damage.
Well, let's face it, once we talk about EF2 to EF3s, we're talking about winds of over 130, right?
Yes.
So we're talking about, for those around these parts more familiar with the categories of hurricanes, you're talking about getting toward Category Strong 3 and Cat 4 hurricane, maybe Cat 5 hurricane strength winds. So you're talking about some significant energy.
And that's when your walls are getting either brought down or your roof is actually getting torn off. In those instances, and I mean, I've seen this time and time again across the southern plains and Midwest, if it is an EF2 or EF3, if you're at the innermost part of your home and you're hunkered down, you have pillows over you, a mattress, a helmet on even, you're able to survive it.
Which is pretty amazing.
Without a storm shelter. I know storm shelters in Florida really aren't a thing, really. Out across Kansas and Oklahoma and Texas, they sell those. They're on every TV commercial all the time. There's billboards up about, either buying an above-ground shelter or an in-ground shelter.
Interesting.
That's
well,
not really
you know what
a
I
thing
should do
here.
is make sure folks who don't know is that Ross spent, how long were you out in Oklahoma?
I was 3 years out.
Tornado country, folks.
Yes.
And it seems to me like almost your first couple of weeks, you had a significant event, right?
Yeah, the first May was pretty rough.
Yeah.
We didn't have a big one then, but we did have a week of about like 2 or 3 significant severe weather days. The biggest tornado I've had is an EF3 that hit Cole, Oklahoma. And I mean, we had people who, when you look at it after the storm passes, the house looks completely caved in. It looks like no one's there, and you see people crawl out of the wreckage from inside their home, or they come up out of the storm shelter. But just because you don't have either a storm shelter or a basement doesn't mean you're not able to survive an instance like that. Now, once you get up to EF4, EF5, then you're talking some big storms there and some very, very strong winds. That's a little bit of a different story, but that would be an incredibly rare event,
Humbling.
I think, to see. Not only here in Florida, but really across most of the country. Those don't tend to happen very often.
No, I mean, I know that when we are here thousands of miles away, but we can track them on radar. I mean, it's a humbling event just to watch nature come together like that.
So we kind of stress, in your home, get to the innermost, lowest part as you can, hunker down, cover yourself up. But let's say you don't live in a house. Let's say, maybe you live downtown in one of our, beautiful high rises here in the River City. This actually did happen to me one time at my old apartment in Oklahoma City. I had just worked overnight, and we did the shift change. I went home and was only asleep for about 2 hours, and a tornado warning popped off at 5 a.m. And I lived on the 3rd floor of an apartment complex. And of course, I wake up and look at the radar, and I can see, we're right in the warning area. So I woke up my dog, Enzo, and we went downstairs. And of course, out there, you got tornado sirens going off. Mm-hmm. So we went down to the 1st floor. I knew someone who lived on the 1st floor, knock on their door. And of course, everyone's awake when the sirens are going off. And he let us come in, and we just kind of hunkered down for a little bit, and I watched it on radar for us, and then went back up. So I think this is just another good example of, if you do, especially if you live in an exterior apartment with a lot of windows and you live higher up, first move in as far as you can into the building, stay off the elevator, stay in the stairwells, and then get down to the lowest floor if you can. And that lists a couple good locations, your bottom floor bathrooms, laundry rooms, concrete garages as well are typically also some good spots. And if you have any with you, you want to just protect your head as best you can. Whether you have some sort of helmet, whether it's a bike helmet, maybe even a baseball helmet will do, or just blankets, pillows. I guess if you're still in your apartment, a mattress does help if it's a serious situation.
It's amazing what winds can do. And I was out in West Texas doing some research out there. Got to be friends with the priest who tells me he was in Lubbock when Lubbock had big tornadic event. We're talking decades ago. And it suddenly happened. So he did not have time to get out of his, 8th, 9th, 10th floor office. And so only thing I had time for was to get underneath his desk, big heavy desk. Tornado hit. Blew out everything. Once it's gone, everything in the room was pretty much gone, including the carpet that he thought he was kneeling on. The only thing left was the desk.
Wow.
Yeah, and of course him. Yeah.
So the carpet got completely torn up and ripped up.
He has no idea.
Huh.
He has, and he was kneeling. He was a priest, and he was probably praying. I don't know if he's actually praying, but he said he was kneeling on the carpet under the desk, and it's all that was up was the desk.
Miraculous stories of survival in those instances.
Pretty wild stuff. So I think really there's a lot of different tips, folks, but the main thing we're trying to tell you is think about what you and your family would do to protect yourself from flying debris, right? Because there are those rare events where the whole building gets picked up or home gets picked up, but for the most part, that's not what happens. It's debris damage goes through the windows, goes through the walls or roof, and that's how people get hurt.
And I think two other things to stress. One, not only make sure that you have a plan and your family has a plan when you're all at home, but also have a plan when you're out and about. If your kids are at school, if they're out at the park playing basketball, with friends or something, make sure they know what to do in those instances. And then also if you're just out driving around, that's something you and I talked about, Tim, a little bit before we started this. A lot of people are out on the roads, in the afternoon or early morning commute where we will often see some of our stronger storms and, our tornadic events here.
I think it's why we want to make sure people understand the difference between tornado watch and tornado warning. It's kind of like hurricane watch, hurricane warning. Tornado watch is typically issued well in advance of any tornadoes. Doesn't mean everybody within the watch area will be hit by the tornado, but then once the tornado watch is issued, and that tends to come from the severe storms experts there in Oklahoma, then that is the time to do exactly what Ross was talking about. Talk to your family, talk to athletic team members, and I'm sure coaches will do this, and teachers or even members at work. But it's a way to say, look, we think it's serious enough to where thunderstorms could produce tornadoes. They may be hours away, but now's the time to think about what would you do if a tornado warning is issued. Then when a tornado warning is issued, that means we sure think that either a tornado is going to hit your area, and we try to get pretty particular, or there's a very high risk, so it's worth the effort to put yourself in a safe place.
Now, let's say you are out on the road and you're in a car. What would you do, Tim? And a tornado warning comes out. You get the notification on your phone.
Two things. One is stop the car, because we do know that first of all, vehicles are very dangerous because the wind can get underneath them, but the most dangerous place to be is in a moving vehicle. Then the next question, I guess, Ross, becomes, where do you stop your car?
Yeah.
Hopefully, if you have time, you can go to a parking garage or some place where, once again, the main thing going through my head is, how do I protect my family from debris? Now, certainly there's a concern of the vehicle itself being picked up, but I'm thinking, how do I get myself away from flying debris? So suppose I'm flying down the interstate and we see the tornado warning. I tend to think of two particular areas. And again, folks, I'm not saying that this is where you absolutely should go. But to me, if my only three options are open road, in a ditch, or an underpass, if it's not raining real heavy, I might go to the ditch.
Yep.
Just to keep a little lower, right, from the debris.
That's what I would do.
And I know there's a lot of discussion about going to an underpass. But to me, if there's a lot of flying debris and maybe the ditches are full, I'd rather be under the underpass as opposed to out in the open road.
Yeah, the open road would be the worst place to be. Only thing with the underpass is, those winds can accelerate underneath sometimes. But yeah, if you're talking just about debris falling down onto you, that would at least protect you from that. You got a question, Andy? Go ahead. How realistic are the Twister movies? Oh,
Great
Tim,
question.
did you ever go and see the latest Twister?
I didn't. You saw it, and I know you thought it was okay, right?
It was
Okay.
very.
I'm using the term okay as in.
It was a good watch. Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked it. I know people who have storm chased, so I find the movie very interesting
Yeah.
and a good watch. There certainly are some things scientifically that would just not happen.
How would you compare, because the old Twister I've seen several times, how would you compare realistically the new Twister versus the old Twister?
If the old Twister was like, if I gave it a 5 out of 10 on realist,
Yeah.
I would maybe give the new one like a 6.5 or 7.
Oh, okay. So you would give the new one a little more realistic. Okay.
I feel like it gets a little bit more fantasy as the movie wears on.
Uh-huh.
Trying to think specific. Some of that is just based on how the tornadoes sneak up on them out of nowhere. Obviously, the storm chasers and these, meteorologists,
pretty good clue.
They're going to know if a
Yeah.
tornado. They don't just pop up.
Right.
Also, the thought of in the very last scene. Spoiler alert! If anyone hasn't seen Twisters 2, as the tornado is heading towards the one town, everyone's getting like sucked up into the funnel essentially. From half a mile away. And that's not really how it works.
Yeah.
You do get inflow winds, so you do expect gusty winds, but not to the point that the tornado is still a mile away, but the water tower and people were, hanging on to things,
Gotcha, yeah.
getting
Well-
pulled up. That doesn't happen.
And I'm trying to think, I mean, if it's already on the ground and that big and you are half a mile out, wouldn't almost your concern be more
The tornado.
debris coming down on you?
Well, yeah,
That maybe it's picked up and it's dropping?
Yeah. Trying to think any other points in the movie.
Because I was thinking.
I mean, it is for someone who is really into weather.
Yeah.
It is definitely something you want to go and watch.
Well, I know there because I know with me being a weather freak that there were parts of Twister, the original Twister, that as the ingredients were coming together, and the guy, I forget his name, is looking at the clouds, that there is something about, even now I'm sort of getting chills, sort of that forecasting as ingredients were coming together. I did think they did a good job of just that certain anticipation you feel in the air when you know something major is about ready to happen.
I can remember specific points when I lived in Oklahoma of we knew there was going to be a severe weather event
Yeah.
that day, and maybe it was one of those conditional ones, whether the cap was going to break or not. And we'll break that down in a future, forecast or podcast here. But when you first walked outside, you could feel a pretty strong, southerly inflow or just flow in general, and the moisture in the air, like you could just feel
There's
it.
this- yeah.
That like the conditions are ripe for something big to happen here. It's just, is it going to happen or not?
I think I wonder too if we're well, I know with you growing up on a farm, I know the animals sense it, but I do wonder if even there's something primitive in us humans to where we're also feeling maybe the really dramatic changes that's happened with the barometer because
Yeah.
there is something you feel. you know?
Yeah. One other thing I just wanted to make a quick point on before we wrap it up with the driving, and I only bring this up because I know of this happening somewhere else, and you kind of stressed it. The worst place to be is in a moving car. Never try to outrun the storm, whether you're out on the road yourself or if you're in your home. And let's say it looks like the circulation is heading toward your neighborhood or your town or whatever. I urge you to not get into your car and to drive either north or south or wherever to try to get out of the path. The tornadoes are very unpredictable. They can turn left, they can turn right. And there was an instance about 10 to 15 years ago out in Oklahoma City where that mistake was made. And, thankfully, nothing bad occurred from it, but there was a major backup on the highways out there because everyone was told to drive south.
Wow.
And the storm started to turn right. And
Which they can tend to do.
yes,
Wow.
and all of a sudden there was thousands of people out on the highway, and there was a big traffic jam, and they had nowhere to go. And thankfully, the storm turned back around and then kind of dissipated before it reached that major highway. But just one more thing to
No,
keep in
on
mind.
that chilly note,
Just-
I think that gets us
just-
right back to, the most dangerous place to be is in a moving vehicle.
Yes.
So don't be there.
So, anything else from you two?
No, I think that's a great way
Since
to wrap it up.
I started it, do you want to wrap it up? I'll let you. I always wrap it up.
So thank you, the one and only Flying Eagle, Ross Muma. Can you tell he's kind of tense because of the Super Bowl coming up? We're smiling now, folks, just so you know, before he sings the song, that, again, this is Preparedness Week. That's because things are nice and quiet. But really, if you're looking for maybe sitting around the table with your family and everyone's going like this and you want to get their attention, just bring up the discussion about severe weather safety, tornado safety, as in what would we do? I think the more times we talk about it, even if it's just for a few moments, it can help us all, that's for sure. So we'll be back here when, tomorrow?
Tomorrow, 4 o'clock probably.
Probably.
If you don't have anything on your
80%
calendar.
chance.
Yeah. All righty. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Take care, and thanks for watching.